glass half full, the revival.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back. New York Revival's back on a Tuesday night. We're feeling back at home again. I know you've missed us, but you know what? We came back. We wanted to give you guys Memorial Day weekend off, but we're just trying to kick it back into gear a little bit here. My man El Jefe's here joining us. He's taking the night off. Jefe, how you feeling? How was your Memorial Day weekend? How's everything going tonight?
It was an awesome weekend, but I have this thing where on Mondays, I just feel like I'm like working at 50%, like brain capacity on every Monday. So if you're doing a 3-day weekend, I'm 25% tops today. And I don't know why. It takes me till Wednesday to really get into motion. And then I start ramping down on Thursday.
You're right.
You know, the work week kind of goes like that for me, but I'm pumped. One of my favorite guests we got today. Look at Ferris, first in line, this guy. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Ferris, what's up, my man? Hey, listen, we got a very important guest, right?
We got
a very important guest. Let's just bring him in so he can hang out with us and we can hang out with the people while we all bake in the misery of the Mets. Clem from Barcelona, what's going on, my man? Clem, how we doing? Round of applause.
Thank you, fellas. So El Jefe's at 25% between me and Mr. GHF. I mean, just in terms of like optimum brain power, we're going to be lucky to get to 100% by all combined.
That's fine. We might be able to piece it together. Hey, listen, what'd you guys do? Anything good for the holiday weekend? Did you spend it with your family, friends? What'd you do? Clem, lead us off. What do you have?
So I got this thing that I'm really been steering into this year. I've had it for a couple years now, but I'm really getting into it. I got blessed by the grace of God on my days are so thrown off because of the weekend. I think it was Saturday. I was alone with I had the daughter. My wife took the boy to a party, and by the grace of God, her friend's mom was like, "Hey, you want to have her come over, have a play date?" So I was kid free for like 4 hours straight. And this is what I do, boys. I don't have a pool yet.
Tell us everything.
We're thinking again about a hot tub. Yeah, don't tell. Let's keep it right here. This is a family show still, right? You know what I do, boys? I get my hammock out and I just sit in the hammock and I'll listen to some nice tunes. Like, I'll throw the Mets on, and then when the blood pressure starts rising, I turn that off and I'll listen to some Otis Redding or something just to kind of put me in the right place. I mean, I could go, Mr. El Jefe style, maybe put myself in the right place some one way or another, and then you kind of just sit back, relax, and just enjoy life a little bit. So that's what I had running around with the kids. And I told you guys before we went live, my kids had off Friday and Tuesday because they had unused snow days, and old Papa had to watch them all by himself today, and it was not fun. No one wins when Dad's home alone with the kids, other than the kids are probably getting pizza or McDonald's at some point. That's the only win for everyone in the house is the lunch or the dinner of the night. So I'm hanging on by a thread, but it's good to be with some friendly faces.
I need to get me a hammock.
Dude, the hammock's the best. The best, man.
I have a fun little story from the weekend, which you guys will appreciate. I went to Monmouth Racetrack on I don't know what the days are either anymore. Sunday.
One of the days,
And I had my daughter with me, and I gave my sister a ride. She had her 2 kids. So like, good day. We're now getting to the car. I drove, so we got 3 kids in the car. My sister. And I started to leave. My car's like, and I'm like, oh fuck! I know that feeling. I get out and look. My front right tire is like smushed to the ground. It doesn't have any air in it whatsoever.
Oh, no.
So the tire's destroyed. This is a 2019 Acadia, so I've never changed a tire with this car before. I'm like, where is the spare tire? I'm like flipping everything. I finally find it, and I'm like, fuck, man. I was like, freaking out. The kids are freaking out. I'm like, why is this happening? I'm like losing control. 3 guys are walking by, and my gut instinct says, Jeff, just say something. These guys are walking by, and I'm like, any chance you guys want to help me out real quick? And one of them is a mechanic.
Oh God!
Not that you need to be a mechanic, but like I was so happy that there were men around that could help me.
Real grown men,
like actual men, not like me. So the guy comes over, and I happen to be wearing like the stoner gray Giants hat, and he was like, "Saw you were a Giants fan. Happy to help." I went to give him $50 because they were going to a bar. I'm pretty sure they were hammered, helping me also. They didn't take the money, but being a Giants fan, it came up big. And thank goodness I was on the road like 10 minutes later. They saved my day.
You love to hear that. Sometimes every once in a while, the car gods shine on you and they help you out. It doesn't happen often. I feel like every wife assumes that their husband just should know everything there is about flat tires and cars and shit like that. I'm like, listen, I'm piecing it together here. I'm hoping for the best. And then when you get it done, though, it's just like the greatest feeling.
Let me ask you guys a question, because my wife knows I'm not a real man. Can both of you change a tire if you had to by yourself?
I have, and I can because I've been through it too many times that it was trial by fire, and I just had to do it, and now it's like locked in here forever. But
how about you, Clem?
Not a chance. I found out recently that I don't even have a extra tire in my current car.
I thought that's what I was facing the other day. I'm like, I don't think I have one. I thought it was standard, but
AAA there's not a price AAA could charge me that I wouldn't just pay like blindly, just so that I know I don't have to have that moment where my wife looks me in the eyes and she goes, "You're even less of a man. You're less of a boy than I thought you were." Man is off the table. The M word is not even close to being uttered. When there's like something around the house that needs to get done, she's like, "Should I call one of our dads?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's probably
just call. Just
right.
Don't even ask me. Just make the call.
Suck it up." Right. Like it's not. I'm sick of the whole pride thing. No, just call and get it out the way. Just get it. Ask for help and just make your life so much easier instead of bullshitting your way through things, man. Yeah. But anyways, listen. One shout out though for Memorial Day weekend. We forget about what it is sometimes. Shout out to the troops, man. Shout out to the vets out there. Thank you for your service. You saw a tweet out here. Approximately 22 veterans committing suicide every day. Call the veteran crisis line. Dial 988. Press 1, and man, get some help. Don't be ashamed. And we thank all you guys for your service, man, because we wouldn't be able to do this shit without you guys, man. So shout out to the vets out there if any of them are listening. But to get this shit back on the road here, we had Clem, our resident Mets fan, in here to come and shine some light on some Mets fans and kind of get us through this slog of the beginning of the season here. So Clem, let's talk shop here. 27-27 Memorial Day is come and gone. That's usually like the first fence post, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first marker of the season. You kind of stack up and see where you land. The whole NLE sucks. In your opinion, why are we at where we're at 27-27? Can it get better? Can it get worse? Give us what your thoughts are on the season so far.
Yeah, I'm usually the Mr. Glass half full of my Mets podcast. We gotta believe so. Yes. I feel like I'm able to fill this role. Now, to be fair, we talked on DM and we were like, "Hey, want to get you on the show one of these days, talk Mets." And when we discussed this originally, the Mets had won, I think, like 4 or 5 or something. They just had beaten the Rays and the Guardians. So I was feeling good. I'm like, this is gonna be easy. We're gonna have nothing but fun. They have the Rockies again. The Cubs have been called. Everything's gonna be fine as long as the Mets don't play down to the competition. And they did it once again, which, let's be honest, at this point, like, you're not really playing down to your competition if you have the same record.
You might just be that level.
They might be those guys.
Yeah. I'm just telling myself that it's the starting pitching. If the starting pitching can ever just figure itself out, everything will fall into place, because when you're down 4-1 in the third inning every single game, the bullpen is getting taxed. We're talking about who's our fifth inning guy. Your starter's your fifth inning guy, dude. That's how baseball works. You don't have a guy go 4 innings. Like, that's just not natural. So the bullpen goes to crap. The offense is pressing because they're behind the 8 ball every game. Mm-hmm. And as Mets fans, there's not been many things we've been blessed with. Trust me, I know this. But usually the starting pitching is in a good place. It's the offense that, puts up, 1-2 runs for tons of games that drive us nuts, or the bullpen rips your heart out night after night, a million different ways. But we've always seemed to have decent starting pitching for the most part. I'll tell you, having bad starting pitching is the worst of the 3 that I've seen. It's so much worse than offense. But now listen, there's a case you made that having a bad bullpen will drive you mad, because you watch till the 9th inning every night and you lose in the 9th, and you have that like 8 innings of happiness, and then it's just ripped from you before you get the win. But the starting pitching, by the 4th inning, I'm like, well, this is over 8-1, and we're sending the other guy back to Syracuse. So I think I was trying to think of the right analogy for it, and I think we said having bad starting pitching is like having bad feet. Where it's like, if your feet are bad, your knees are going to be bad, your back's going to be bad, and sooner or later your neck's bad, and you're all fucked up. So let's just fix the feet, and we'll go from there.
I like it. That's a good one. I mean, and listen, it's our aces that are just been inconsistent. That's the scary part of it all. Scherzer's up and down, Verlander's up and down, and they both had these weird freaking little knick-knack injuries to start the year. Maybe, hopefully not worse off, or maybe they were just rusty. I don't know what it is. They haven't found their groove yet. And the thought is, once they find their groove, the Mets will follow suit, the Winds will follow suit, and everything falls into place. It saves the bullpen, and it all, like you said, once you get your feet better, everything else works better too. So the offense, the horses are there. The horses are there. They're going to be up and down, but they're doing enough. Alvarez is looking fantastic. Francisco Lindor is rounding into shape. MVP is just doing fantastic. He's on his pace for 61 home runs. Things are looking okay on the offensive side, and they can bounce back. So I guess that's the hope. It's just about getting Verlander and Max going. But give us your thoughts on Buck, though, man. Has it changed over the last year? Did you like him at first, and have you changed your opinion? Has it stayed the same? What's your thoughts on Buck, and is he leading us the right way?
So, yeah, I think the first thing Buck has to do is try to figure out how to make 2 40-year-old pitchers stay healthy. I don't know if he could put that too much on Buck. We knew this was coming. All of us said, if these guys stay healthy, if they don't have any decline, if, and everyone else was like, yeah, you fucking assholes. And if they don't, you guys are going to be in trouble. There's a chance they bounce back all right. Like Scherzer's been better. Like he had that one bad start. Yeah. Verlander, it's like pretty soon we have to stop making excuses. Like, oh, they were in Colorado. Like kind of like we said before. There's all these different ways we could make excuses, and then we're like, wait, we just stink. We just keep losing games.
Yeah, we got to beat these guys.
Buck last year was Mets fans were basically the kids that just had like the parents that would either like just leave them alone, or they were just as bad as the kids, right? Like that's the kind of managers I feel like we grew up with as Mets fans.
Yeah. I love his analogies. They're just top notch analogies. Fix the feet, build up. I mean, I just love this.
Yeah, I'm figuring like my kids are probably like, yeah, you're that parent, Dad. You're the guy who knows what the hell you're doing. So like if I were to get fired by them, and then they brought in like an actual real dad who knew what he was doing, everything would run much smoothly like it did last season. 101 wins. I think a lot of people have the biggest problems with Buck are the bullpen, which I think most of the problem is they're having trouble. They have a problem with the 5th, 6th, 7th guys in the bullpen. Those guys always stink. It's just, you don't see those guys pitch in a good season because your starters get through 6 innings or at least 5 2/3 or something like that. It's just these guys are pitching in the 4th, the 5th, and then they're pitching like every other night. So then the bad pitchers become awful pitchers, and that's how you have these guys getting sent down every day. The other thing with Buck I know is the kids. He's not playing the kids enough, which I understand. I think that's been a long running thing about him. But I also do think we've heard this a lot of times in baseball where the first third of the season, basically to Memorial Day, is when you find out what you have in terms of your veterans, in terms of the team you have on opening day. I think that's probably what Buck was operating towards. Knowing Buck, he probably literally has like Memorial Day as his day where he has to start making decisions. The fact Yorme was sent down a few weeks ago was the first like, oh crap moment. Like this ain't scholarship time. I think Carl Banks is always talking about the Giants. He's like, you're on scholarships. No one's on scholarships anymore. I think that was like the first, like everyone who was on this 101 win team last year, what last year is last year. It's over now. And we kind of stink right now.
Yeah.
He was gone. And I do think like if Vogelback keeps struggling, Pham keeps struggling, we're going to start seeing a lot more of the kids. I think Vientos will get more playing time. I think it's just they're trying to figure out whose playing time he'll be taking. And that's why I think in the next week, at least in my dumb brain. Luckily, Francisco Alvarez looks awesome. So that's the most important part of all of this.
Man, him and Beatty are both hitting the ball. Alvarez's defense has stepped up because you heard defense was the reason he wasn't up here. Now he's playing good defense. Beatty playing good defense. They're hitting. Vientos, if you're not going to play him, send him down already. Like figure it out. The Vogelback experiment has to be over, and you hope that, like you said, Memorial Day. Now it's time. It's game on. Listen, we're playing the Phillies now. We're all jumbled up in there. It's
up 1-0, by the way.
Yeah, 1-0 off a Lindor home run. Not a lot of offense, but listen, you got to take care of business against the Phillies, right? And then you work. Like, are we trying to catch the Braves at this point? Or are we just trying to worry about ourselves here?
I get like visibly upset when people are scoreboard watching. Like, we do not have should like. I don't even like watching our scoreboard, let alone other teams' scoreboards. Right now. Like, let's just worry about ourselves. And I did kind of get into it. Like the only time I look at the standings is to go, guys. Just for the record, we're playing terrible. Everyone hates our team, and we were like 4 games behind the Braves like a couple of days ago. And it's like, and then we're above the Phillies right now. And I haven't, and granted, I don't follow a lot of Phillies fans. It's kind of a very competent decision I think I've made in life. Like I think if our boy Jeff here, if it was a Eagles fan, they would have probably lit your car on fire and just let it blow up, right? Like they wouldn't have thought twice. They wouldn't have pissed on it to put it out. So like I'm not too like I'm not gonna freak out. I made this analogy the other day and I still think it holds.
Oh, another analogy. Give it to me.
Here, ready? This one's cross sport here. The National
Next
League.
level.
This National League, the 2023 National League, is like the 2022 NFC. There's a good team in the East, the Braves and the Eagles. There's a good team in the West, the Dodgers and the Niners. And then there's like teams that are surprising a little, and the Central kind of has their moments, yada, yada, yada. And like, we're kind of like where the Giants were. It's like, they could be dangerous, And we were a lot more excited about the Giants at this point than we are about the Mets right now. But it's the same kind of thing. Like, there's so many just Met teams. The Pirates look awesome. They've come back to the pack, and all these other teams are kind of going up and down. The Padres they had fans wearing bags to the game the other day. So
I love it. Love
paper bags over their head. So I'm not going to freak out. But I listen. If people want to, I'm done fan watching or telling people as fans. If you want to freak out. I don't want to hear it because like this, we all said this might be a tough year. All that matters is get your 80 something wins, 90 something wins, and make the playoffs. And that's exactly what might be happening. And if we're gonna freak out about it every day, then like I don't want to hear. This is what it's gonna be like. Last year was a blessing, and no one realized it as it was going on.
Yes, it's facts. It's facts. Hey,
got a question from the chat.
Yeah, Darius. Why do people seem to have this irrational hate for Pete Alonso? Can you explain it? Because I don't understand it. Is it just because he's like a fun like boy, like thinking he's having a little too much fun out there? Why? What's the hate? I don't understand.
People, I think he's a cornball. I like Pete. He's our big dumb meatball. He hits some runs. He has fun. He's humping the railings now. It's like he says the
What's not to like?
He says let's effing go Mets, right?
Yeah.
So I'm cool with it. But I understand. Like I've been on the internet long enough to know the way a guy is going to play on the internet. And when Pete was sitting there in the home run derby with his eyes closed, meditating, I was like, oh no, this is
they're gonna have a field day. Yeah.
And again, you have Yankees fans, the crosstown team, right? So they'll look to, sewer us anytime they can. Same with Phillies fans and Braves fans. And then it is like an LOL Mets thing. Until you make the Mets like cool consistently, their biggest guys are always going to have like oh wait, but this guy, doesn't have it. And he's bopping to Biggie like this. And, guys are going to hate it. So I have not heard anyone in the fan base dislike Pete Alonso.
No,
it's outside of this. So it's like, fuck him. I don't care. But it's a great question, though. And I think it's just people think he's corny. And again, he's our big dumb meatball. It just makes me love him even more, to be honest with you.
I hear you. And by the way, Senga through 7, looking dominant. Absolute dominance.
Just feet.
It's good feet, baby. That's all. This is what we need.
Let's go.
Let's go. Here's the deal. Like when we lost Diaz, everybody got pushed up one inning. And then when you get pushed up one inning, that underbelly gets exposed. And that's what you're seeing right now. And that, like you said, when our starters do not go the proper amount of innings, though that underbelly keeps getting exposed for longer and longer. And no shit, our bullpen's getting taxed.
What's the underbelly of the underbelly? Because I feel like we're like the spots that don't even like. There's not even a tan line in this part of the underbelly because it should never see the sun. And Tommy, my guy Meek Phil, who does he's on the podcast with me. He's like a great Met fan. He did a couple things where Tommy Hunter and I think Steven Nagosic were second on the team in innings behind Robertson, who's like our closer.
Wow.
They each have 21 innings.
Terrible.
They both missed multiple weeks due to injuries, and they are probably two of our worst arms in our bullpen, but it's just because our bullpen is so goddamn bad that these guys have to keep pitching, so then they're pitching even more, which makes them even worse. Nagosic just got sent down, and at this, I think...
Thank God.
All of last year, they pitched less innings than they've pitched this year. So it's all about like when your starter goes 3 2/3, someone else has to take the mop up duty. And then, when those guys have to come in for a big spot, the underbelly gets exposed. And then the underbelly's like little flab part of the belly that doesn't even get sunlight is getting exposed. And that's really soft. They'll stick that thing real good.
Incredible comment from Jerry here. If you've ever been to Bahrain, it makes perfect sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense. But listen, we're all just waiting around now. I guess once the horses get going, everybody will start getting into gear. I think it starts off here, and it has to start off here because the Mets schedule in June, I'm sure you've taken a look, is quite horrific. They have a Pirates series and then Murderers Row, essentially. Phillies, Blue Jays, Pirates, Yankees, Atlanta, and it's all mixed in there. Brewers to end the month.
Cardinals. I know Cardinals.
It's Cardinals. It's just a shit show. And listen, if we subscribe to the theory of you play down to the competition or and then play up to the competition, there are good teams on the schedule now. Play up to the competition. Let's see what we got at the end of June. And I think we're gonna find out about them right now, man. I think we're gonna find out about this team. But listen, enough about the Mets. Let's. I want to shift gears here a little bit. We're typically all of us, or we're kind of baseball, football, kind of hockey guys. But did you, Clem? First off, are you going to be watching the NBA Finals? Did you watch any of the NBA the series before? Did you watch the Boston Celtics series? And are you watching the finals? What's your thoughts on that whole matchup? It's the Denver Nuggets versus Miami Heat. Who had it at the beginning of the season? What's your thoughts on it?
David Stern is doing somersaults right now, 6 feet under, being like, "You let Denver and Miami take over my league TV schedule." I will be watching NBA in terms of sports. It's probably my third behind NFL's 1, baseball's 2, NBA's 3. But I still love basketball, and having the Knicks be a good team just makes it so much easier to watch it. Other than being like, this is the sport that
we don't participate in.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. The 90s were great. And I said to my buddy that I'm such an idiot. The 99 finals, the year we clinched the finals, I was at his house and I go, dude, is just this what our life is gonna be like every year? We're always competitive. And like a year later, it just all went to hell.
Okay, I'm crashing down.
So,
do you subscribe?
I guess for all that.
Do you subscribe to the theory of? Do you root for the team that beat you because you're like, I lost to that team, they're the good team, or do you say, fuck that team, I hate them, I hope they lose the next round?
Yeah, it depends. And in the case of the Miami Heat, hell no, I'll be watching. Right. I would be watching this series. I've watched more NBA this year than I feel like in more years, because it's like I'm excited about the Knicks. I like the way the league is kind of progressed in terms of the talent and stuff like that. And I will be basically watching every second of this game, rooting against the Miami Heat and praying to God my fellow unit, Nikola Jokic, goes out and just wipes him off the planet. Because it's like with Boston and Miami, I think a lot of people were like, I don't care if the Celtics lose. I don't care if he loses, as long as one of them lose, right? Yeah. With this, though, it's strictly like, I was like, all right, no matter who makes the finals, we're going Denver. So I am going to be rooting so hard for Denver. I will be the biggest Nuggets fan outside of the greater Denver area. So I'll be watching every game.
Double click on that for a second, because I understand the hate for the Heat back in the 90s when the rivalry was heated. It was serious, fights, everything. Love it. Why this Heat team? Like, why do you hate this? I know they knocked the Knicks out, but I actually love watching Jimmy Butler. I think he's a badass. So I'm curious why so much against this Heat team.
I love Jimmy Butler too, and as soon as he went to the Heat, I go, that is the perfect guy for the guys in Miami Heat. And it's not a Spoelstra thing. It's not even like a Knicks thing. Like they beat even when it felt so weird after they beat the Knicks. I wrote in my blog, I was like, first off, I just want to say, like, hat tip to the Heat. Yeah. They were a better team. They got wide open shots. All the Celtics fans were saying the same thing I was saying at the end of the series last night. I'm like, they just keep moving the ball. The guy's always open. He always hits the shot. Kyle Lowry hits this stupid mid-range shot that breaks your back. Bam is a cheater. He's hurting our guys and he keeps getting rebounds. This is the problem, El Jefe. It's not the guys. It's not the players. It's not Spoelstra. It's the guy at the top of the org chart who has been there, Pat the Rat. He is the guy, and he is the guy who was, smart enough to leave the Knicks after Cablevision bought them, and then, which led to James Dolan taking over 6 years later. He was smart enough, and if you read the book, I think it's called Blood in the Garden, great book, and it gives a lot of behind the scenes. And, I think one of his great friends was interested in buying the Heat, basically was tampering with Riley and got him to Miami and had that all lined up before he even could have left technically. But I remember being a dumb idiot kid that's loved the Knicks with all my heart, and still was like, oh yeah, go to Miami, be a god down there, and get to build the team wherever you want and make a ton of money doing it. Great idea.
Makes sense.
That being said, I still have to be a bitter, angry New York fan that's shoveling his driveway in the winter. So it starts when Pat Riley is no longer on the Heat. I'll still hate the Heat.
This feels deep. Yeah.
Yeah. The Indiana Pacers, I root against them because Reggie Miller, who hasn't played in 20 years, used to kill me every single year. They ruined my childhood. So I then want them to hurt whenever they can hurt. So
Clem's a big grudge guy. He's a grudge guy. I get it.
And that goes with
Don't cross him.
Butler, who I love. Yeah, don't cross me. I mean, you boys, I see Eli's not on the show. Eli's on my list right now. The last 2 shows, Eli's been ducking me. So, I mean, 3 times, it's a grudge. So I'll just let him know right now.
We're gonna clip this.
Yeah.
Hefe, are you watching the finals? Are you interested in it?
I like this Heat team.
Yes.
I wanted to see them beat Boston. I'm not sure why exactly. That's just how I felt. I don't know why. I just like Jimmy Butler a lot. And I don't know, man. I also put money on him this morning.
Hey, that's something.
Because I made a stupid bet last night. I feel like I knew the Heat were going to win. So I took them to cover. And then for like an idiot, I added it with the over, which I have no information on. I looked up here, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I should have just money line Heat. If you felt like they were going to win, have the balls to just do that. No, I'll take the points and then let me add the over. And then I lost because I'm an idiot. So I think, so I just put Heat are winning this series. They're going to be the NBA champs.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So how about this?
Now I'm rooting double for them.
All right, so we have a pretty good interest on the NBA side. NHL, I got a question for you guys.
Who's your team?
I am a Rangers guy because as a Knicks fan, I always thought Rangers, Knicks,
right.
Garden Brothers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I also wouldn't have even known that the Stanley Cup Finals. I saw a tweet like yesterday, and I didn't even know that it wasn't in the Stanley Cup Finals, and I didn't know who was even in the Western Conference Finals. I had no idea what was going on.
So we do this game called How Many Limes, meaning it's we put our limes in our tequila, and the more limes you get, you do a rating 1 to 5. How many limes do you care about this NHL? Hold on.
A little bit of lime for a good time.
How many limes?
That's an old one.
How many lines for Clem for interest in this series? 1 to 5.
I mean, anytime it's because it's the cup, right? That's what they say. Like, just give me close games all the way to like the third period. So then I have like 5 minutes. I'll turn it on. Maybe some overtimes in there. So I'll be like 2 limes. Just like I see the word Panthers or Golden Knights. I'm trying to think of what won the game. I was like, I saw the Stars were alive because someone blogged it yesterday. So just like. 2. Other than that, though, I couldn't care less. The Kachucks are involved. I think people think they're kind of fun.
Yeah.
I don't even know who's on the Golden Knights. The Panthers were a fun story when they took down Boston. So other than that, like, I'm always down for a good little sports drama. Like people who are like, oh, I love this sport, but I can't get into tennis. If you watch 2 girls, whatever it is, battling and just like playing great dramatic filled sports, you can't get into that. Like, what are you even into this for?
Right. You have a pulse.
So I'm definitely down for it. It's just like going in. I know there's I think multiple Kachucks on the Panthers. Is that fair to say?
His brother's always in the stands. Kachuk is the USA guy that all the USA hockey fans get around. He's kind of feisty. They're like
he's American.
Yes.
I would have put my life. That's a Canadian name. How is Kachuk our go-to American
sons?
It's a good point.
I think, but they're like a little bit of feistiness to them. They're like not the Watt brothers. Who are the others? Bosa brothers. Like the Bosa brothers. A little bit cocky, a little bit feisty, but elite athletes. So everybody's getting behind them. And the Kachuk guy out of Florida is just one of the best to play. Hefe. Limes, give it to me 1 through 5. How interested in the NHL Finals?
Not very. I mean, a lime, just because I still want to have a good time, you know.
Yes,
but once the Rangers, I was so into it and disappointed with how the Rangers lost that I had some interest watching the Devils as the team that knocked you out. And I have friends and family that are Devils fans, so I was watching with a little bit of interest.
Yes.
After Devils were out too, I have no more interest. I have no limes left. I drank a lot of Corona this weekend to celebrate Memorial Day.
Hey,
the American holiday.
I hear you.
You got one. Nice.
So the commissioners, to say nothing else on those 2, are kind of pissed off about how it worked out. But again, let's just hope for tight series, maybe 6-7 games, and then we'll call it a day on those sports. And
Hefe's too busy rooting for his beloved Heat. He wants Alonzo Mourning to get another ring as an executive, and Pat Riley just to laugh at Knicks fans yet again. He's too busy enjoying that.
I mean, Alonzo Mourning gave us that Jeff Van Gundy epic. I mean, was there anything more heroic that a coach could possibly do in that situation with his hair
He's
all
hanging on.
his hair is what I remember, and him just looking like a little rag doll, like hanging on to his
Oh.
foot. One of the best images in NBA history, I think.
Bar none.
Can we talk some Giants, baby?
Yes. We'll talk some Giants, and then we'll let our good friend Clem go. He's graced us with his presence again. If you guys aren't following Clem, go follow him at now. Great articles on Barstool. Great podcast out there. Give us a rundown on your podcast. Are you guys you're doing the Mets podcast?
Yeah, we have the Mets podcast. We gotta believe we have me and Robbie do like the Nerd podcast. We'll do your Marvel stuff, your Star Wars, all that. My Mom's Basement, and then at the Clem Report on Twitter. Again, I do all that kind of stuff. Edit on Barstool. So, and if you hate Barstool, just follow me anyway. Who cares? I don't Barstool.
Follow me anyway.
I guess my profile has a Barstool logo in it, or block me. I don't really care. At this point,
either way, it's cool.
I love Twitter when it was like 2013 or so. We were all just cracking jokes, having fun, and I feel like it's just gotten to a place where I'm like, they took my check mark. I was like, I don't care anymore. It's not it's not really that kind of a fun place. So yeah,
you got love. You got love on this show. Look at this, Monty.
Oh my God, Monty.
Love,
That's my guy.
Monty's a good guy.
All right, so Jeff, you want to transition us into
real
talk?
Because
transition us.
While I was trying not to do my actual job today, I was listening to a lot of Twitter Spaces, and even in May or June, you can find a Giant space happening 24 hours a day, which is why I love this fan base. Psychos. The hot topic of today was DeAndre Hopkins and the Giants' interests. Should they? I mean, most fans are 1,000% in on this. They want this guy. Some blank check doesn't matter. Get this guy. Daniel Jones has never had the alpha. Where do you stand on the addition of Hopkins? Potential addition, being that the wide receiver room is pretty crowded now.
Me? Or
yeah,
you
can go. Yeah, you can go.
You are the guest.
So
we got to hear from you.
I mean, I love it. I love my guy Danny having the alpha, like you said, and then putting him with Waller, with obviously Wandale comes back, and then you have I think Hodgkins is only gonna get better as he keeps going, all that kind of stuff. I just don't think it's gonna happen. I have my radars up on it. I'm looking in everywhere. I'm hearing Bills. I'm hearing Chiefs.
Yeah,
he wants to win.
Yep. I'm like, that's a different. I love the Giants. They're a good story. That is a different cut above what we are right now, right? And then even like the Patriots with Belichick, and I know Bill O'Brien and him might have had some issues at the time with the Texans, but there is a difference between a coach and like a czar of football, which he basically became by the end of his time down there. And there was a fourth team involved too that I think was even a cut above us. Don't get me wrong, I'd be 100% in. I also don't think like Hopkins is going to be like the answer here. He's not, or he wouldn't be AJ Brown, right? I don't think he.
Yes.
I watched a good amount of his stuff even in Arizona, and he still has like the most ridiculous hands. He still is quick enough and can get enough separation to make it happen. But like, I just don't think that's going to be the guy. And if that guy stops us from getting the guy next year, I just don't want to do it. So I'd love to do it, but I just like, especially Joe Shane, I can't imagine he's a guy who's going to, mess up the whole budget for something when I think Waller as, kind of our number one option, even though he's a tight end, plus the like 17 other guys we have as an option could be like just as good and like not kind of mortgage the future. And I will say this, I downloaded an updated Madden roster and I played with our current offense. And boys, let me tell you,
you were cooking?
Aaron Waller is going to be awesome. He is so good. He is so good. You throw the deep route. You throw like just kind of the crosses that Evan Ingram should have been running his whole time with the Giants.
Yeah,
and he just has the speed.
Just let him cook.
He has the size. He's a mismatch nightmare. You throw Saquon coming in if he ever signs the franchise tag. Whatever happens with that, and then like you said, kind of with when Edwin Diaz, if he had been healthy and everyone got bumped down, now it's like you have. Instead of hoping Hodgins is our number one, he's like our 3. And then, you kind of Slayton's down to your 4, your 5. And you're just like, wow. And
getting better,
it's like, it almost feels crazy to say, Paris Campbell is like the most injury prone guy in the league. And then, Slayton's going to miss time. Shepard, at this point, I know Shepard is like a beloved Giant. At this point, you're like almost torturing and being like, come back for another season where you are definitely going to get hurt. He's coming back from like an Achilles too. Right?
We got him shackled.
They're like, if he comes back the same guy as last year, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? It's hard to come back when you're like 25 from this injury at the same rate.
I know.
And he's doing this at the end of his career.
God bless him.
I do think that I'd love to have Hopkins, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So I'm not even allowing myself to get into that like, space
You don't want to get hurt.
Remember when I almost hate to say these two names. This is like PTSD. But remember when like they said like Galladay was like sleeping over at like the Giants facility or something, and God, I was like, we're having sleepovers. Galladay and Joe Judge. Let's go, baby. We got him locked up. Nothing can go wrong with this signing.
What
so I'm 100% fine. Throwing Hopkins back to someone else. And even I saw this thing like they think Kadarius Toney could be the one, and Hopkins will be there. I have no beef with Kadarius Toney. What he did to the Eagles in the Super Bowl meant we were cool for life for the rest of our time in this planet.
Earned us some major brownie points. Hefe, do you think what's your thoughts on D Hop? Do we have a chance at him? Do you want him?
Well,
give us
look, at this point in his career, he's made enough money, right? And he's still gonna make a lot of money no matter where he goes. So he even said on a podcast that he's looking at contenders. He's looking at Josh Allen, and like, so my guess, after listening to right out of his mouth, he's probably wants Buffalo. Like, that's just my thought. Even though it's a shitty place to play outdoors later in the season. But he wouldn't have. It depends what he wants at this point. Does he still want to be the alpha? Because Diggs is well established in Buffalo. So he might be like, all right, give me the cornerback 2 then on every fucking team we play, and I'm going to eat and score touchdowns and win. Maybe that's what he wants. I don't know. The Giants, I think Daniel Jones needs another year of getting to that top 10, top 12 status before wide receivers are like, yes, like that's where I want to go. I think I think he has more to prove this year for the Giants to be a destination for free agents. So hoping they have another solid year. But I mean, I said at the beginning of last year that, to be fair to Joe Shane and Brian Dable, I think 2024, so not even this season, next season, is when the roster will like officially be theirs. So long as Leonard Williams is making $32 million, it's not like truly your cap yet, right? Like, we're still paying for the sins of Gettleman. So I think it makes sense if they don't want to go broke for this year. I understand that, because the Eagles are so superior still, as gross as it is to say. So I don't know. It was kind of like you want them to do it, so it'll be exciting, but it may not be the smartest thing to do either. Where are you at with it?
I don't think anybody's going to complain about D Hop ever getting signed. Nobody's going to be like, "Oh, we're season's over." No, we would love to have a D Hop here. It makes the team better. The question is, does it put the Giants to a Super Bowl level team if you get him? And in my opinion, I still think that we are behind San Francisco and behind Philly in the NFC, and behind the Bills and Chiefs in the AFC, if not more teams. I love D Hop, but I think, listen, we have to find out about Daniel Jones this year, and I think what they did so far has built a roster that's the best roster that Daniel Jones has had to work with in his career, up to date. That's college included and NFL included. So you're going to find out about DJ 100% this year. There's no more excuses. And if he proves that he could take this team to, maybe 9 wins, and if you fall short of the playoffs of 9 wins, fine. But against the schedule, it's going to be tough. 10 wins, whatever. If he gets you into the playoffs, for sure this is your guy, and you got yourself your starting quarterback. The whole 3-year out part of the deal gets almost eliminated. You start thinking, now this is our guy of the future. Then you go get him his
you could even restructure again if you wanted.
Right. Then you know that you're set. You could restructure him. You could spend money and you could spend draft picks to go get your next your guy. It doesn't have to be an all-pro to make this wide receiver room better, a lot better. You could just get your big time wide receiver, be it the draft or trade. And I talked about this before. Everybody's like, well, a guy like D Hop doesn't always come around. Did you have Waller on your radar before this offseason started? No, nobody had Waller. You go find your guy. That's what you pay your scouts for. That's why you pay your vice GM and your pro guys to go find that guy and go trade for him and get him there. But you'll at least know that you have the quarterback situation figured out. Don't get a D-Hop and create a window for the team that should be wide open starting next year. Don't create a small window of 2 years when you get D-Hop now. That's what I think. Find out about Jones this year. Get your alpha next year without paying $25 million, and you set yourself up for longer success. So I think that we are all kind of on the same page that D-Hop's probably not choosing us anyway. But I think
I wouldn't mind if Joe Shane picked up the phone And like,
Right.
are we close?
Give
If
an
it's
offer.
yeah, you
Give
like
an offer.
yeah, because he would have an opportunity to be. I mean, Giants just have the coach of the year from last year. If he talks to anybody on the Giants, they will tell him what kind of coach Dable is. If Dable gets to talk to him, he'll tell him how he would use him. So like those are the kind of things that could help draw him here. But
Right.
it might be not what he's looking for. He might be looking for a 1-year deal with a Super Bowl contender, and so be it. So we'll see.
Yeah. Maybe we'll be that team next year. Maybe we'll be that team that's like right on the precipice and everybody wants to come to our team.
The last thing I'll say about it is just the thought of having D-Hop, and maybe it's just having like that alpha. Like we never replaced Odell. He left, and we had a bunch of B receivers. So that's why people was like, we got to bring Odell back. Like we just need the guy. Like it doesn't have to be the one that we used to have. But I think imagining the offense with like D-Hop, Waller, Beckham, Hyatt, Jesus Christ. It's like, who do you stop? Like so much speed and like so many athletes that like, it would be so fun to watch, but
it's true. It's true. Well, all right, listen, let's get Clem out of here, but I want to, before he goes, I want to get his take on Barkley. Is Barkley here is he playing for us this season? And will he be here in 2024? What does Clem think? Give us your thoughts.
So I think he's definitely here this season. I don't like the only way he's not is if they trade him, which considering how much they're looking to pay him and how much everyone's looking to pay running backs, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, all right, we'll give you some first round picks for Saquon Barkley. And then they're not gonna pay him. Well, we're not gonna the Giants are probably the team that would pay him the most money out of every team in the league if it was an open market, just because I think there is that relationship. He's a good fucking dude too, which does mean something, especially to like an owner group like the Maras. Like they love that kind of stuff. Once a Giant, always a Giant, right? So I think he's definitely staying. As someone that had Le'Veon Bell for the holdout season in fantasy, that was kind of tough. That was a hard one to swallow. Looking back, should have picked up James Conner. That was a mistake on my part. I don't see him doing a Le'Veon. Definitely not. And I honestly and I guess they could just franchise him again next year. So I won't even cheat and say, will Saquon ever play on a non-franchise tag in the Giants? I'll make that the question. And I say yes. I think they're going to come to an agreement. I think. I know the thing is you draft him, you run him to the ground, whatever. I still think, as crazy as it is, the injuries he's had has kind of maybe saved some tread on his tires.
I am with you on that.
Right?
With you.
So in a weird way, it kind of helps his cause, even though it's like, I just wait for the next injury with Saquon every time he touches
We've
the ball.
talked about that too. We feel the same way about the tread on the tires.
Yep. So I think, but I do think in the end, like the tread, plus the fact that he is like a good dude and like the exact kind of guy you want for your team. And I do think Dable and Kafka will actually know how to use him, which would be better than running him to the middle of the line like our old idiot coordinators used to do and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think he's back. I think there is still it's not like running backs are cooked at the age of 25.
No.
It's usually like the next contract is when they're cooked. So we'll run them into the ground this next contract. So when I'm on the show in 3 years, or like, is Saquon back in 2028? My answer will be no. But for 2023, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7.
Yes. Well, we got that written down. We're getting down. In 3 years, Clem will definitely be on the no train. But hey, we respect you, man. Clem, I appreciate you for coming on, talking all things sports with us. You are a New York guy, and that's why we love having you on. Hey, hopefully we can catch a Mets game this summer. If not, we'll see you at that fucking air conditioner box called MetLife this fall. What do you think, bro?
Yep, I do one tailgate a year now because I'm old. I have kids. I have to work on Sunday, so I can't really go. We have it booked right now. The schedule is awful because we always try to do a Sunday day game, and obviously there's like none of those.
There's like two of those, yeah.
Yeah, so there has to be a Sunday day game, and it has to be before Halloween because remember that like blizzard we had that random Halloween like 10 years ago? Ever since then, we're like, Halloween's the cutoff now because we're getting older and more washed. October 29th, Jets, Giants. I'll be there. I usually, we're all in the same tailgate area. I know the Talking Giants guys are there. We're all meeting up. Hefe's, half in the bag is disrespectful to the bag at this point. The man is just he's floating when I usually see him at MetLife. So we'll do the same again. Give hugs, give kisses, and do some shots together.
I may have kissed your head last time. I don't know. Giants Fan Fest, has that been when does that usually happen? Is that the beginning of August or
middle August? Yeah, mid-August, I feel like. Because
I think I forget where I saw Clint. You're right, man. I must have been because I don't know when I saw you. I have no idea which.
I saw you at a Giants game. It was at I think it was at a Giants game.
I think it was week one.
Yeah, it was 1. Was that week 1? No, well, week 2. It was week 1 was in Tennessee last year, right?
Right.
It was the home opener.
Home
opener.
Yes.
Yeah,
I always try to make the home opener. Vibes are good.
That was a gross game too. I remember being like, I don't know about this team because that was like the grossest looking. But that was when they were still figuring out the offense and they knew what the defense was. But yeah, we'll definitely do it. FanFest, I have to tell you, boys, like they got to do a better job because I take the kids to FanFest and I'm trying to brainwash them. They were like, I'm hot, Dad. Like they enjoyed, eating whatever. But there's like, or I could go wait in a 3-hour line to get Jarrell Jernigan's autograph. Like that's not fun for kids, guys. Or wait, 45 minutes to go in a bouncy house for 10 seconds. They don't want that. So if the Mariners want to come, let's figure out how to make FanFest a fun thing for the kids so that us dads can all, get drunk and, have big hug parties together.
I'm writing it up tonight and we're going to get this game going. But Clem, again, appreciate you. Bro. Go get some sleep, my man. You had a tough day. Get some sleep and get back at it, my man.
2-0 Mets. LFGM.
Let's go. 2-0. Let's close it out. Come on, baby.
Later, guys.
All right, Clem. Peace. That was awesome, man. He's Clem's. If you guys aren't, like I said, if you aren't following Clem, genuine great guy. Just
as you can
New
see,
York through and through. Yeah. But listen, we were talking Barkley, so I figured we'd get a awesome cap guy in here. My man MYG Mason on Twitter. If you guys aren't following him, he's my capologist. I go to him for everything because he knows his shit. He knows his numbers. And I wanted to create a segment here called "Explain It to Me Like I'm a Casual." So if you're a casual fan, which listen, you don't even have to be a casual fan to not understand the cap. Because the cap is a fucking weird thing, man.
Most people that understand the cap still don't understand the cap. Because they'll say a team can't do something and they'll do it every time. Yeah.
Listen, it is what it is. But hey, Mason, welcome to the show. Welcome to New York Revival. I'll give you a round of applause, my man. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
How we doing?
How you doing,
we wanted to kind of have you talk to us like we're like a 5-year-old, explain the cap to us, explain how we're going to get Saquon back at a good number. Can you tell us your thoughts on it? What kind of numbers we're looking at? And
also how we're going to sign D-Hop, extend Andrew Thomas.
Bring D-Hop and
extend Leo, extend Dory, extend everybody and keep everybody happy, right? Oh, shit.
What's Mason's plan?
All right, where do we start? Where do we start?
All right. So first things first. It's funny, Hefe, that you said that, teams will just make shit up and they do it. And because Jason Fitzgerald actually talked about that in his podcast, I think like about a month or two ago. He's like, dude, sometimes they make shit up and they just do it. And it's like, it comes out of nowhere and nobody really knows how it works. So, but anyway, all right. So let's start with the most basic part, right? The Giants have about $4 million in space right now. Right?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
And that's the top 51, right? When they go to 53 players, you're going to add 2 players, which means you lose about $2 million in space for those 2 contracts, ballpark, right? So realistically, they've got about $2 million in space right now. Okay. They need to make, if you're targeting their numbers that they say they want, another $10 million for the season, plus for the practice squad, they're going to need about $4.5 to $5 million. And people say I'm crazy when I say that, but I'll walk you through those numbers in a second. So that means that you've got about $12 to $13 million they need to make just for this season. Okay. Now, how they go about that, how they do that's a different issue, right? Because the bare minimum that they have to make is the space for the practice squad. They could leave the season operating space open for what's the word I'm looking for? And restructure Adoree and Leo later on in season before the trade deadline, so they carry over as little dead money into next year as possible if they had to. But again, you're kind of leaving yourself open to not having the flexibility to do it right away. But basically, the way the practice squad works is like this: think of it as 16 guys are on your team at a minimum of $12,000 a week for 18 weeks. That's $3.5 million.
We should have been NFL players, dude. I mean,
at a minimum, right? At a minimum, $3.5 million. If you take the smallest possible, league minimum deal, it's about $44,000 a game that that player will cost you when you elevate them onto the roster. Okay.
Right.
So if you figure that you have 2 elevations a week, essentially 14 players on your practice squad for 18 weeks, that's $3 million just for the practice squad and $1.5 million in elevations. So it means you're going to spend at least $4.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
This math's not adding up right now.
Right. So, you still have to make that space. You got to have that space there in order to be able to run your practice squad. Now,
Right.
where can this money come from? Restructures, extensions, and cuts, right? If you cut Leo now, it's basically a post-June 1 cut. You're going to save $18 million against the cap.
Mm.
If you cut AJ, it's going to be 9.5. Darnay Holmes is about 2.94. But
Right.
you got to have somebody replace him, right? So, it's not a hard savings, if that makes sense.
Right.
Trading Leo after June 1, you save 18. Adori, 11.6. Darnay, you save 2.94 minus whoever replaces him, right? Extensions, well, that's the tricky part, right? Saquon can net you anywhere from $3 to $8 million in space. Leo can get you about, give or take, $10 million. Adoree Jackson, another $6 million, right? So you're looking at about $20 million in space that you can make theoretically for this year. Right?
Okay. Yeah. That's
so, about $20 to $24 million in space that you can make for this year. Now, it's kind of like, well,
I feel like they want to take their medicine on Leo, though, right? They just don't take it. Take it
exactly. Because if you restructure Leo or Dory this year, you're not adding years to their contract. You're just basically making space this year and making dead money next year.
Right.
So whatever space you make this year, you lose next year by restructuring them. If you extend them, no matter what you do with Leo, if his hits are $15+ million a year, he's going to be about a $20 million a year cap hit this year, next year, and the following year anyway.
Right.
So it's kind of like,
that's a lot
without a paddle. With Adoree, kind of the same thing, right? But it doesn't look like they want to keep Adoree around based on, what we're seeing so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, a Saquon extension can save you anywhere from $3 to $8 million. Okay. Now, speaking of things that they could possibly do with Saquon, let's say he doesn't agree to a new contract, signs a tag. I don't know if a team's ever done this, but in theory, they could restructure his tag, flip it all into bonus, add a bunch of void years, right? And save $8 million in space this year, but they're going to create $8 million in lost cap space next year.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Void years meaning you're going to pay him without a roster, like without him being on the roster. You're committing to pay it without him actually being there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the key part with void years is the player has to agree to it because they are technically recoverable. The team does have a clawback provision for that, but usually what they do is they say, listen, we're flipping this money into void years. You're getting it. Don't worry about it.
Right.
So, speaking of Saquon and his deal, the problem is obviously it seems like he thinks he's worth old running back money, right?
He needs a new agent.
Yeah.
He's worth, and the fact that he's not firing his agents tells me or would indicate to me that he's on the same page as they are. So, they're kind of lockstep. It's not like DJ in his situation, right? Where he wasn't.
He hired the right agent. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Kim Yali is a sharp chick. I mean, she's a sharp chick.
Yeah.
I mean, knows her stuff, right?
Right.
Highly respected. But market value right now is in that $8 to $10 million range, right?
Not only that,
So
every free agency, you're getting a handful of big running back names that are available that still have tread on their tires, but no one's gonna pay what they're asking anymore.
It seems like she's fighting the whole NFL right now. She's fighting the NFL to get her guy to bring back this RB market, this old RB market that I don't know if there's a chance it ever comes back, man. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean it's wonky because his value is really tanked. I mean he's lost real money, right? Anything a fair deal might be in that $12 million range, right? And anything above that is pretty much highway robbery. So the question is where do they come in at? I think he's going to have to play on the tag.
Yeah,
I think he's going to end up on the tag. I'm curious to find out if they can actually restructure the tag. That would actually be pretty cool if they can. I'm assuming they can.
I didn't know that was a thing. See, I learned something tonight.
This is why he's explaining to us like we're casuals. He's explaining to us.
So I mean, if you look at Chubb's deal, right? Chubb's deal was really the richest in terms of signing bonus to total value, guarantees at signing to total value, and his total guarantees to total value. I mean, his deal was the richest as far as that goes.
Right.
So Saquon's deal would probably be pushing those in terms of the overall percentages and everything. But the question is do they get to a number that works, right?
Yeah.
If the Giants, like for instance, let's say you do a $336 million deal, and the Giants want to save $7 million this year compared to his tag number, right? I mean, you're looking at $3 million this year, 16.5 over the next 2 years each, right? In terms of hits. So you're basically paying him $20.5, $23, $24 million over 2 years. 25 over 2 years, right? To play ball, and and then you're getting rid of him in year 3 with about $3 million in dead money. It's not a great situation because of everything we inherited, obviously with Leo and all that stuff, right?
That's what it is. The Leo thing is throwing a wrench in everything, and it's just unfortunate that Saquon and DJ it's all happening at one time. And
to pay your second best defensive lineman who's not an edge rusher $32 million means somebody fucked up.
Yeah.
It is ridiculous.
It's true.
Mason, thank you for sharing the knowledge. I feel smarter.
No worries. Now, the hard part with D-Hop, though, speaking of the D-Hop situation, is you just got to make that space to get to the season and make it work, right?
Yeah.
Now to bring D-Hop in, you got to make more space, right? Which means that's got to come from somewhere, and that adds to the cost of bringing D-Hop on. So if you gave D-Hop the OBJ deal, right, which is basically a $15 million fully guaranteed deal with $3 million in incentives, right, you're going to end up with an $11 million dead money hit next year. He's not even on the roster, plus $4 million in cap space from this year that you've had to shift over to next year. So he's really costing you $15 million next year anyway. Right. So it's really a $19 million contract that you're giving that guy plus whatever incentives to be on your team. I would listen. I love the idea of bringing him on, but
we all do.
Not with the way the math works out right now.
Right.
If we're having this discussion next year, absolutely, let's do it.
Right. That's the whole crux of the situation, man. That's what we've been saying. Nobody here is anti D-Hop. It just time and place. It just doesn't, like we just talked about. The Leo contract happening now, and Jones and Saquon. The D-Hop just came along the 1 year too early. I feel like that's what it all seems like. But but listen, Mason, we appreciate you for clearing this up for us a little bit. We always love having your knowledge on the show, and
thanks, brother. Anytime.
I feel smarter. I now. I don't know about you, Hefe.
Slightly, but again, I'm only working with 25% brain capacity.
Dude, I've got less than that, so don't worry about it.
Mason, appreciate you, my man.
Thank you, brother.
Catch you later.
Easy, guys.
Love you, man. Peace. All right, man. Hey, so I feel like less of a casual now when it comes.
We're gonna hang out for like 10 more minutes or so, but we're gonna bring on two of our very, very good friends.
Yes.
R0. Hello. Monty.
What's up, boy?
Hello.
What up, guys?
Hey.
May I?
Round of applause for you.
After you, R0.
Because we haven't talked enough football today. I actually listened to you guys talk football all day.
Yeah, you guys have been listening to me all fucking day, so I'm surprised you even want me on this fucking show.
Me too, to be honest. Apparently, I can't get enough of this guy.
You're supposed to be like, no, we love you. Come back.
We love you, bro. We love you, man.
One
So, listen, we want to get your thoughts on a couple of things. You want to lead it, Hefe? What do you want to ask them?
Well, R0 wants to lead.
No,
This-
you know what? Clearly, Glass don't want it, so that's fine. You know,
Come bring it. Let's go. Oh, you
because I haven't done it in a while because
You're
PTA
the
doesn't have his
guy.
fucking shit together so that we can get back on our fucking show grind. So if you're watching PTA, hurry the fuck up because
You hear
my
that?
Saturdays are getting boring. But finally, R0B and Monty have come back to New York Revival. Now, I'm going to take a line from one of my favorite movies. You guys are all fucking Italian. You guys live in New York, so you know the movie too. My Cousin Vinny. Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you. Love you, Mason. What's going on, boys?
What's your thoughts on? Tell us why you love D Hop and why he needs to be on the New York Football Giants of 2023. Because we all know you love him.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, whether he comes, he comes. If you don't, he don't. You know, my thought process or my evaluation on Daniel Jones is not premise on whether D Hop is on this roster or not. Let me first say that, first and foremost. But adding DeAndre Hopkins to this roster, I think elevates this roster a huge way when it comes to, the talent that's on this roster. I think there's a big talent gap between Waller and everybody else. And if you add a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins, I think that only adds to your weaponry, especially when you're getting later on in the year. Jalen Hyatt could be having a great year, but at the end of the day, in the big moments in the Super Bowls, but like in the playoffs, if you were to go, it's good to have those guys that have been around the league and know how to take advantage of those situations versus a rookie, and stuff like that. So it makes it a little bit of a more positive room. Look, at the end of the day, you make the cap work. We have $59 million in cap space next year. We're not investing it into, a New York savings and loan. We're not buying gold. We're not, putting it into Fort Knox, so we have 49 guys on the roster next year under contract. Of course, we're going to give Andrew Thomas an extension. His 50-year option is already counted into that $59 million. Make it work, make it work, figure it out. If they want him, which Pat Leonard says that they're interested. They were contacting them to trade for him. They wanted to give up a trade asset for him potentially. Now you don't have to. So if they want him, they'll get him. If they don't want him, move on. But like I said, my judgment on Daniel Jones is not going to change.
That's fair.
Based on whether he's here or not.
It's all fair. Monty, hello, sir. First of all, the beard.
God, that beard is looking
right.
good,
yeah,
man.
like fantastic.
I could honestly
talking.
I was looking at the
You know,
beard.
me too.
When
it's
I
like
was
you just got
looking.
off a motorcycle and it was like really windy.
It's kind of brushed to the side a little bit.
It is. I was like looking. I'm like, I
Sal.
don't know how this got cowlicked over here.
I should put some of that money into glasses from 1987. Listen, these are like my Tom Cruise.
Yeah. You got the.
I feel the need.
From Top Gun, not
Yes.
Maverick.
Are
Top
those
Gun.
strictly podcasting sunglasses? Because they look very clean.
So Tim, yes, I've cleaned them. Tim doesn't want me to wear these glasses when we're doing the podcast. He wants me to be me. But this me, I miss this me
I
right
like
here.
this you. I like
You know,
this. You.
We
I
started to
like
talk
it.
to Monty, and you still haven't let him.
Sorry,
speak, Rob.
Monty. I'm so sorry.
You're good, man.
Monty
sorry,
has not talked yet.
I'm
How
sorry.
we doing, boys?
We're
Dude,
doing
Monty, how you
fantastic.
doing, my
man.
man? What's your thoughts? D.
I haven't talked to you. Yeah, I haven't talked to you in a long time, Monty.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
haven't heard. We haven't. Yes.
It's 10 hours.
Tell the
today.
people that weren't in the space how Monty feels about this whole situation.
So, I mean, I'm torn on it because obviously, as a fan, I'd love to have DeAndre Hopkins, and I think he would. We do need a one. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, I think Waller is our one in some senses, but I mean, at the end of the day, if like Waller lives up to what I think he can be, and our wide receivers live up to what we hope they can be, I think we'll probably still be going into next offseason. Like, hey, we could really use an alpha wide receiver on this team. So, like, there's one sitting there in free agency. Joe Shane would be stupid not to give him a call and see if they can get something done. But, at the end of the day,
we have, as Mason was saying, we basically have no cap left right now. So anything we can get a deal done, but anything we're doing is just taking, say,
Bigger hit
$18 million a year. That's pushing $36 million in next year, essentially, and taking it out of that 6.5. Do a third year, you can take a little bit off of that, guaranteed. There's a lot of ways to mess with it. I trust Shane, if he does do it, to figure out the best way to kind of mitigate that. But I don't know. For me, I feel like, I'm not going to say no to Hopkins, but I do feel like the Giants did a great job this offseason with adding, getting rid of the lowest level players on the receiving core, replacing them with NFL quality players, and then bringing in a one type player in Waller, where we, if he's healthy, he can be that difference maker. Mm-hmm. I feel like they did all that without having to, pull out the void years and like really dip into the future money. So, again, I wouldn't be upset about it, but I definitely think you got to be cautious about making that type of decision. If you feel confident Hopkins is going to be the Hopkins we saw, make the move. But if you feel like you're getting 75% of what Hopkins is still great, you might hesitate on making a move like that when you have to kind of move so many pieces to make the money work. That's kind of where I am on it.
It's a balls on the table move that either they're gonna get chopped off or you're gonna look like a genius. Like I feel like there's no in between with this move. Like
no,
it's an all in move, and I just like Mason said before,
make the move.
Yeah, like it's a move that the Chiefs and Bills should make, and it's a move that the 2024 Giants I want to make. For 2023. I feel a little bit of hesitancy, and I don't know why, because I love D-Hop the player. I want him on this team, but I just feel deep down.
In your plums? Do you feel it in your plums, though? Because that's how you know if it's true or
not. Do
not.
I want to know what a fucking plum is? I know it's a sweet fruit. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Now it's all coming. It's all coming. Look, I mean,
that's my favorite clip of the night right there.
That's definitely going on Twitter.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely is.
Look, Spiro, I mean, I hear what you're saying, right? But like, kind of, we went over the free agent wide receivers in the space today, and yeah, there's some attractive names. Let's just say, for argument's sake, right? Say the Giants go 10-7, right? We go 10-7. We make it to the postseason. Maybe we win a wild card. Right. And then you lose into the division round again. But say, look, Daniel Jones is playing good, right? He played good, maybe did a little bit better than he did last year, right? Maybe said, okay, we may have something here. He's proven something. And at that point, you need that you just felt like he was making all the plays. You just didn't have the arsenal, right? Maybe you get into the playoffs and they do a great job. You go up against Philly and they do a great job of bottling up Saquon, really taking out Waller out of the game, and you just didn't have the other pieces around him to get over that hump to compensate, right? The guys that are available, Michael Pittman is not putting you over the top there, right? He's not that guy that's going to be like, yeah, man, wow, we added this guy. That's really going to put them over the top, right? Maybe you could say Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is really like a one-trick pony. He's a deep guy, big physical guy. He's going to be always a little bit slower than what DeAndre Hopkins is. That's not necessarily going to move the needle. A guy that would really move the needle for you, maybe you could say would be like T. Higgins, Justin Jefferson, something like that. But those guys aren't going to be available, so they're not going to be there. Whereas if you went and you got a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins now, I think for me, that puts you into potentially like a contender conversation, because now you've got a lot of different weaponry potentially. Now, if say the same thing happened, maybe you get to the division round again, you lose, you build off of that. Now you're going into next season. Yeah, maybe D-Hop is 1 year older, but he's been in the system. Maybe now Hyatt, because he didn't have to be that big time guy in that first year. He learned behind D-Hop. He was able to be the number 2, gets his feet wet. He evolves into being a big time playmaker next year, making even more plays, stuff like that. It makes your offense a little bit more a little bit more potent, a little bit more dangerous going into that next year, or maybe somebody does become available. Maybe there's a wide receiver in the draft that you go for that you add as that third guy, right, in your rotation, or maybe Wan'Dale Robinson emerges. I just think I don't want to get to the postseason if we make it, and because teams will do this. We've seen this on a regular basis, except of course for us, because we couldn't fucking stop TJ Hawkinson, like if our life fucking depended on it. But we're not going to go into that. But like, I don't want to get into the postseason and we go up against a team like the Eagles or something like that. They take Waller out of the game. They box up Saquon Barkley, and it's just like, and then there's nothing, like we couldn't move the ball. You got an inexperienced rookie. You got Paris Campbell, who's never been to the postseason. Slayton and Hodgins, like they couldn't get it done last year. So what are we going to expect for them to do this year? Like, I would just hate for that to happen and just be like, man, we just didn't have the firepower. Like just did not have enough. It would break my heart.
And I get what you're saying, especially as a fan, because, if we get in that situation, I at that point and be fuck it. I want whoever we can to make it through. But me sitting here in July is, we're not going. You can add Hopkins. We're still not standing up to the Eagles. And
I don't know if it puts us over.
I think we have a shot, and you never know once you get in the postseason.
We know how Chaz feels.
Oh, fuck it. Like, I'll take Hopkins, but sitting here now, I'm like, it's all great, but we're still far behind those teams. And
especially when their defensive line, like Philly specifically, can just gobble up our offensive line to the point of the weapons
be able to get to
don't matter when you don't have time. And like that's one thing I expect to see improvement this year. And I think by 2024 you add another piece again, and with that offensive line getting sturdier and sturdier, you'll see more and more explosive plays. Like a lot of times it's the second read or giving a chance. So like if you have to move Daniel Jones out in motion, you got Waller, you got Hyatt that could be screaming across the field. Like those plays are going to be there, but we just might have to wait, because I do think 24 is the first year where we'll be able to say, I think we can legitimately have a shot, like to actually go. Like this year, if it's playoffs, that's awesome. It would be, I think, way overachieving to get to the NFC Championship with this roster, this line specifically. So
a lot of young players that need to develop. And
I think, I think we're at the beginning of a very nice run, because I do think Shane and Daves are going to be here a very long time. And if they keep doing this year over year, they're going to be putting a hell of a roster together that, like, I don't look at another team and think we're going to get outcoached. Right. Like, I just think if we lose, it's probably because of O-line strength and because of talent.
Yeah.
But the thing is too, like with the O-line though, right? There's ways to compensate that. And we saw it on Sunday Night Football against Washington. The first game we played against them, their D-line was getting a lot of penetration, and they were getting in there and attacking Daniel Jones. What did they do on Sunday night? Quick reads. They had quick routes to not allow the Washington Commanders D-line to have an opportunity to get through the line of scrimmage, right? When you have a guy like D-Hop, what does D-Hop do? Gets quick separation with his routes. So that's something that if JMS is struggling or something like that, or the offensive line is struggling, you can get it to the point where you're going to have a guy like Waller that can get open quickly. You have a guy like D-Hop that can get open quickly. If you can get those quick routes and just get that line, because that's basically what happened in that Sunday Night Football game, quick routes, and that line kind of backed off a little bit because they were anticipating those quick reads, have the Daniel Jones get that ball out of his hand. If you can then get them to hesitate a little bit, now you may open up a deep shot down the field to Slayton or Hyatt or something like that. So that's the thing. Like, they praise separation. That's what Joe Shane has been. We want guys that can get open, that can get separation, that can run clean routes. This just screams. Like, who was I talking to today? Like, I was talking to somebody today, and I was talking to Mike. It was in my space, and I said, look, hands down, the team that makes the most sense is Kansas City. Like, if he just wants to win, like, unless you go to Cincinnati, Kansas City is the only team that for a fact I can give a 98 or 99% chance they're going to be in the Super Bowl, unless you're with Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has that opportunity where they can beat them because they've done it already. Ravens haven't done it. Buffalo hasn't done it. They've collapsed in the playoffs. If Kansas City's not going to offer you the money that you're potentially looking for, what is your next best option? The NFC is the weakest it has ever been in a long, long, long time. The teams that you have to go through, Seattle, San Francisco, Dallas, Philly, maybe Green Bay, Detroit, those are weak teams, two of which are in your division. So if you can go to a team like maybe if you got I fucking love you, but if you can go to a team like the Giants, right? You have an opportunity where it's less of a trial to get to where you want to go.
For sure. I totally get that part. All right. So switching gears real quick off of D-Hop. Before we end the show, I want to ask you guys real quick question.
Yep.
Who's your dark horse at wide receiver to come through and make an impact in 2023? Not your Hodgins, not your Waller, obviously, who's a tight end, but who's your dark horse that's going to be that guy that
I know
steps
Monty's
up?
answer.
I would say actually only take
I think
Waller
I already know
off
Monty's
because
Well,
the receivers we brought back are like almost on the same
It
level.
could be any one of them.
So
Yeah,
I
it
would
could be
say
anyone.
any receiver who's going to
Who
be the
becomes
leading
the-
receiver current
Yes.
group. How about that?
Leading receiver, current group. You want to go, Rob?
You go, Mike.
You go first, but I already think I know who you're gonna choose.
And we're not doing Ford Wheaton. We're not
That's who I was gonna think you were gonna choose.
No,
That would
if
be
he does it, so
bold.
be it. But
I actually think
Vegas will give you nice odds on
this
him.
guy was getting a lot of shade today in the spaces, but a guy who I actually could see having a bigger impact, people think is Isaiah Hodgins. I do think
Yes.
Isaiah Hodgins is a guy who, when you see guys come in to mid-season, you don't typically see
Rob hates
guy. You don't typically
I
see
just
guys
messing with
have a big impact on a team.
Mhm.
You see big time like wide receiver ones get traded at the trade deadline. You typically don't see that year one. And I know obviously a huge part was that he was with Dable in Buffalo. But keep in mind, this guy is outside of Shep, who who knows what Shep's going to be. If Shep's healthy, that's great. But he is the best route runner on this team. If you look at Isaiah Hodgins, he's a very good route runner. I never chimed in and saying the space is saying he's only good against zone. That is not true at all. He had an 82nd percentile win against press coverage last year. He's very good against man and press. He's a good route runner. He's not a long guy. He's not a deep route player. He's not going to be the guy that does that. But the thing is, you brought in so many guys to this team to do that. You brought in Waller, you brought in Paris Campbell, you brought in Jalen Hyatt, you brought back Darius Slayton. Know what you still need?
Plenty of speed there.
Is a guy who can work underneath. You don't really that is what you're missing out of those guys. That's what Hodgins does, and that's Daniel Jones still needs his safety blanket, and I think he can be his safety blanket.
Yes.
I could see him be. I don't know if outside of, I'd say Waller's probably the one guy I'd be like, that's a 1,000-yard guy, but he's a tight end. But outside the wide receivers, I don't think we have a 1,000-yard wide receiver. But I could see Hodgins being like an 800, 900.
I think Odell was the last 1,000-yard receiver we had.
Yeah.
Probably.
Monty, I was just talking about, if you extrapolate those numbers out that he had close to 400 yards. And the first couple of games, he wasn't even a full-time starter at that point. But if you extrapolate what he did for that season, he ends up around 800 yards and 8 TDs.
8 touchdowns.
And that's
He built trust fast with Jones. And
That's production, and he caught everything. Like I used to joke,
great
say,
hands.
guy catches everything. He literally caught everything. He did not
Yes,
drop a pass.
great hands.
Now he will drop 2 in week 1, obviously.
all right. Real quick, Rob, what you got? Who's your guy? Who's your leading wide receiver? If we don't have D-Hop, obviously,
No more D-Hop.
and not Waller.
I'm gonna go Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yes, nice.
I'm gonna go Wan'Dale.
I like it.
I think it's probably going to be a few weeks before, he said he'd be ready week 1. but I can see him probably, being ready by week 4, maybe kind of getting his feet wet a little bit. They come in certain situations. I could see him possibly being a full goal by week 5 or week 6, which gives him a full 10 or 11 weeks to play. And I think that he's going to have a big impact. I could have said Jalen Hyatt and stuff like that, but I think that's a guy that if you're looking for the underneath, if you're looking for somebody that you can move around, be a little bit of a gadget, a little bit of a good possession guy, that's a guy that I think can really come on for the 10 or 11 weeks, if that's how many games he has to play, and be a little bit more of a reliable player for this offense.
I like it.
So that to me, that would be my little dark horse type of guy.
That Richie James role worked well in our offense. So.
Yeah. Listen, if you saw what he did in that last game before he got injured on an offense that was still lacking people around him, and there's a big.
He got a lot of touches in that game. They were feeding him the football.
9 catches. Yeah.
They were now. This is what I hope too. I hope that he watched Richie James, and how they were using him. Right. I'm not saying Richie James is this world beater, right? But the one thing that I noticed with Wan'Dale is I don't know, when he ran, his body was off, the way he was running and crap, he looked off balance. Be smooth. I hope that in this off season, he's working on catch that ball, make your cut, and go. Don't don't try to
bit of a rookie because he was a rookie. He's kind of feeling his way through.
Yeah, exactly. But do it with more confidence. What I will say about Richie James is, for the most part, Richie caught everything with this. He caught everything with his hands. Wan'Dale made a lot of, and Monty, correct me if I'm wrong, but Wan'Dale looked like he was making a lot of catches with his body. It looked like
they got the little arms.
Yeah. So it's be confident in yourself. Know you're going to take a little bit of that hit, but look at that confidence how Richie James played. It seemed like Richie James didn't even care if he was going to get rocked. He just caught it, took a hit. Play with that confidence when you get in there. And I hope that's something that, because Shep played like that too. And I hope that's something that Shep coaches into him, be listen, just go out there and do your thing. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it too much. Just go out there and play.
Yep.
And hopefully it works out. I think it will.
I probably would have said, I would have said Hodgins if Monty didn't, because I'm bigger on Hodgins, and he pretty much said everything I was going to say. So I'm going to switch and say Jalen Hyatt to say somebody new, because whether by his own ability flashing so much that he just gets more playing time early on, or through injuries or whatever, I could see him getting thrown into a much bigger role faster. And you also have to remember that they draft guys for reasons. There's something that they saw in him and exactly how to use him in this offense. Seems like they're throwing the ball deep in practice a lot already to him. He had 2 touchdowns today. He's flashing early, getting that connection going. So why not? We see rookie receivers be able to have success right away. So I'm going to go with someone new and say Jalen Hyatt, because he's going to get a lot of chunk yards. When he has games, it's going to be big games. Whereas Hodgins has to work a lot harder with underneath routes to have the yardage add up. So give me Jalen Hyatt, the rookie, going over 800 yards.
Beautiful.
Do we think he wears 84?
I hope not.
I think
it'll
he's going to
grow
end up
on you. It'll grow
yeah,
on
listen,
you.
Randy Moss wore 84.
I actually don't mind
Randy
him
Moss
wearing
wore
84.
Randy Moss, that's right.
Yes.
I hate that Waller's wearing number 12.
I
they just switch numbers
dude,
with
Cager and Waller just standing there next to each other.
That messes me up.
Yeah.
I'm dude, just Waller, you just rip the fucking jersey off of him and just say, "Give me this bitch," and just put it on. Why would you want to wear fucking
I think
12?
Hefe said this best though. If he's scoring touchdowns and he's doing Waller things, nobody's going to give 2 fucks about what number he's wearing. No. 12 looks good once it's scoring touchdowns.
I don't like it.
I think it'll grow on me. He feels like an 84 84 is, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like a fast number.
Right.
I like
The force slows.
Like
the
it's
force
gonna
slows
slow
him
him down. Yeah. Like
Okay, so like this is
number
probably like
7.
I know you guys wanted to go, but
It's too
what like
clunky,
what
the
numbers are like available? Like he can't wear 11, which is what he wore in Tennessee. That's retired.
Yeah.
Yep.
87.
Like did he wear
Chef's
what number did he
over.
wear in high school? Do we know what number he wore in
7.
high school? He
That's
wore
it.
7, but
did a deep
7
dive on this.
is retired. 7 is retired,
Yeah.
so nobody can wear that.
7
Fucking every
secret
number that
details.
these guys can wear are
11.
fucking retired.
Hey, we'll see. My boy Sills. I don't think that he's gonna make it. But his favorite wide receiver growing up was Odell.
Ooh.
So
Wow.
13.
Okay, so if
Hey.
Sills goes to the practice squad, his jersey becomes available, correct?
Yeah.
All right, Sills,
would
get the
be
fuck
per-
on the practice squad. He's gonna like the 13.
Monty's
I'd
like,
rather
"Don't
see
you
that,
dare."
bro, than look. I don't mind the 84. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at it like this: he's wearing 84 right now. The last person to wear 84 when he was disrespected by the fucking Dallas Cowboys was Randy Moss.
Facts.
And when
These are facts.
when he played the Dallas Cowboys, he scored 3 fucking touchdowns
He
and went for
fucking
almost
worked
200
there.
yards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I can't wait to see them use Jalen Hyatt. I can't wait.
I'm so excited.
It's
Hey.
June, 3 months. We got 3 months.
100 days. What was it? 100 days?
103
Oh,
days.
yes.
103.
Yes.
I post this every day, Spiro.
You
I
do.
almost
I know.
post
I
it.
know.
I made
I'm getting
it.
the days mixed up. I'm getting the days mixed
Why
up.
is it that
It's-
he's always liking my shit, but you're always the last one? He's always the first one to like my shit. And I have you two in 2 separate
get
freaking
there.
group chats.
No, but I get there. It
Eventually.
just takes me some time. It
I
just
break
takes
your
me some
balls,
time.
Rob, but at least I like your shit.
I
Jeez.
know you do like my shit. You know?
All right, boys. So listen, thank you for coming on. We're gonna wrap the show, but we couldn't end it with 2 better guys.
Mhm.
Monty, R0, some of our fucking day ones, just down ass dudes.
Everybody in the chat too. Thanks for hanging
Everybody
out.
in chat. Tuto, I see you out there coming in late. Always
Tuto.
tapping in from Italy.
You know
baby.
where
He's the
I'll be
best.
tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we'll find you. Everybody knows where to find Rob.
I'll
Everybody
speak
knows
up
where to
tomorrow.
find.
I'm gonna.
Just look at the top
Are
of that
you
Twitter.
are you gonna take a
timeline.
fucking mic? Because like
Yeah,
you
I
were
just had too
listening
much
today.
work to do today. I was able to listen on it, but I
no
just had
excuse.
I had a day, man, and it kind of is a good excuse. But tomorrow I
yeah.
plan on speaking up. Don't
You'll
worry.
be all right.
I had that mindless work today, so I was just.
Yeah. All right, boys.
All right. Listen, we said it all. Thanks for everybody joining us. We can go through the whole list of people in the chat. I love you all. Listen, thanks for joining us on a Tuesday night. We talk Giants football. We talk Mets football. New York Revival.
We talk Mets
Signing
football.
out.
No.
It's not sports. It's also entertainment. We had a good time out here. And we'll catch you guys next week where we will have a special guest.
Ooh,
Special
say?
Giants guest.
Can we say?
Eli.
I don't know.
That's sad, and it's funny because it's true. We miss you,
I love you,
Eli.
Eli. I
Get
love
back
you.
in the saddle, Eli.
Oh man.
I'm gonna
Um,
send that to him so he gets real heated and comes back with fire.
No, I'll never let me on the show again.
yeah. But next week, can we say it? We can say
Yeah,
it.
say it. Say it.
Madeline
Drop it. I think
Burke.
she's-
Madeline Burke is going
Ooh.
to join us.
Madeline
gonna,
Burke.
Our queen, our Giants queen, Madeline Burke, is gonna
Ooh,
come join us.
Should we say Queen Bee?
Yes.
Burke?
Yeah,
Queen
maybe-
Bee.
I like it.
We're gonna come up with some like fun drinking games. We're gonna make it a fun
Yes.
show.
I want
Let's do
everybody to join us. It's gonna be a
Is
fun one.
is it too early for a really early hot take?
No,
No.
drop it.
33-28 Giants over Dallas week.
Oh, give it to me.
I think we can end the show on that. On that note,
33-28 Dallas.
33-28.
33-28 Giants.
It's documented now. Go Giants.
let's go.
Eli Rex, El Jefe, Mr. Glass Half Full, the revival.